Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2025 video game film, A Minecraft Movie. Now, I have never played Minecraft once in my entire life. And if the experience of playing the game is every bit as generic and boring as watching this film was, I definitely don't want to play the game anytime soon. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on a Minecraft movie, I would like to give a special shout out to Taz69 Spartan for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal, my Patreon, or my Cash App. The links to all three are in the video description down below, and I will try to get your requests as soon as I possibly can. Now, a Minecraft movie is directed by Jared Hess, who prior to this directed a movie about a magical unicorn and a pretty significant box office flop in Masterminds. He's most well known for films like Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, and now he's going to be well known for this, which is definitely, without a doubt, his biggest hit as a director in terms of box office gross. But to me, this was a weird fit for Jared Hess. If you look at his filmography, he's really a guy who's known for like surrealist, awkward, almost kind of cringe comedy. And there's a little bit of the cringe comedy aspects in this, but not a lot, because this is still ultimately something that is trying to be for the widest audience possible. And Hess's direction is, in my opinion, mostly safe for a director who is known for being a little bit more risky and avant-garde. So that's a little disappointing that you have Hess as a director and you don't really get a lot of avant-garde, intriguing camera angles or pans or zooms or sort of stuff in this. It really looks like something that he took for what probably was a pretty decent payday, and really to give himself almost a guaranteed hit. So then it would enable him to get more opportunities later on, because of the fact that it seemed like he was heading down the road of direct-to-video land um, prior to getting the job for a Minecraft movie. But also, I think the studio just wanted somebody who was capable, and that's really it. The studio didn't really care either way. They're like, okay, you can somewhat direct. All right, we'll give you the job, because they knew the cash cow that they had in their hands. They knew as long as it was a Minecraft movie that it was going to print money. And I think that's another reason why Hess is just very restrained here, because a lot of ways he was just a company guy. It was like, all right, I'll do what I'm told, and I'll make the Minecraft movie, and I'll try to inject some of my quirky humor, but I'm not gonna go too far with it because a lot of it's gonna go over the kids' heads. And as a result, I definitely would say, other than the Magic Unicorn movie that he did, it's probably the most least impressive a film of his career to date when it comes to the direction. It's just very uh, generic. That really is the best way to sum it up. And honestly, to sum up this movie, it's just such a generic film in a multitude of different ways. And the direction is just another thing that you can add to the list of generic aspects of a Minecraft movie. Now, a Minecraft movie is written by Chris Bowman, Hubble Palmer, Neil Widener, Gavin James, and Chris Galetta. And this script has gone through countless rewrites over the years. The entire film has gone through what I would call, what others have called, development hell. Because this is a movie that was announced, I think, like 2014 or something, or maybe a little bit earlier than that, maybe a little bit later, but it was announced years ago, and it went through a cycle of different directors and writers with different concepts and different ideas for the film until they finally settled upon what is essentially just, hey, it's a Jumanji sequel but with Minecraft. It's so uninspired. It's so lazy. And the fact that the new writers that were brought on were the geniuses behind Masterminds, which was a piece of crap, is rather fitting, if you ask me. Because easily the worst and the weakest aspect of this film to me is the screenplay. It is the main reason why this film is just so mediocre, because the script is just so uninspired, so lazy, and is just delivering the bare minimum in almost every way possible. From the plot, which deals with a magic cube that opens up a portal to the Minecraft world, the overworld, and a bunch of regular people from the real world wind up getting sucked into the overworld and then have to find a way to get back home, and then also stop a villain from opening up a portal with a beam to the sky on top of a tower, and have to stop them from taking over the video game world and then entering our world. And it is the most generic, most uninspired, unoriginal type of plot imaginable. There's barely anything involving this plot that is that interesting, that involving, or that creative for a film that's trying to have a message about creativity. And then you have the characters and their arcs, which are very middling and very threadbare and paper thin. And it's another instance where the writers really put in very little effort. You have Steve, who was a doorknob salesman, who quit his job and then decided to go play in the mines because it's something he always wanted to do since he was a kid, which is incredibly dumb. Like, what kid wants to work in the mines? And I guess that's the point. It's funny because it's so unexpected. It's just dumb. And Steve winds up finding a magic cube that opens up a portal to the overworld, the Minecraft world. Goes in there, he can build anything that his mind can create, and it's a wonderful sandbox of imagination for him. And he meets this wolf that he befriends called Dennis, and then he winds up accidentally, I think, at one point, opening up a portal to the Nether. And then he sees the piglins and Mount Gosha, who is this evil sorceress pig lady, and she wants the cube because she's going to use it to invade the overworld. And once Jack finds out about that, or Steve finds out about that, he has his dog Dennis go and hide the cube under his bed in the real world. And that's where Steve's story ends in terms of like our introduction to him. What a compelling, amazing character. Uh, then you have Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison, who was a former video game champion who is now disgraced and is a loser who is the owner of a rundown video game shop in the middle of Nowheresville, USA. And he's got a massive ego and he thinks he's hot shit, but in reality he's basically just shit. And that's all his character is. He's oblivious, he's cocky, hasn't earned it, and thinks he's God's gift to the world. And he has to find a way to raise money to prevent his video game store from getting shut down. So he buys a storage unit, and the storage unit happened to have Steve's stuff in it. He thought he was buying a rare Atari console, the Atari Cosmos, but all he did is buy the box. But inside is a bunch of junk and the cube. And so he takes the cube with him and I guess decides he's going to maybe sell it later in his shop. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? And then you have Natalie and Dawn. Well, actually, Natalie and Henry. Dawn is another character. So you have Natalie and Henry, these siblings. Henry is this young kid who is a super genius who can invent a jetpack, which makes you think, okay, he can invent a working jetpack. Uh, why would he need the Minecraft world to create anything when he can create stuff that is incredibly imaginative and unrealistic and wild in the real world and make it work? The script does a really bad job with that. It's like, "Oh, you can create anything." I'm like, "You can't create a jetpack. That's not something you can do in the real world and real life." What kind of message are you setting for the kids who watch this? Oh, you can be creative. You can create anything that you put your mind to, including a working jetpack. No, you can't. And the whole premise and the whole selling point of the world of Minecraft is that you can build and create anything that you put your mind to. And it's not that special anymore if in the real world you can create a jetpack that actually works. So it even this script even undermines its own IP somehow. It nerfs its own IP. So you have Henry, and he's this wonder kid, and you have his older sister who is taking care of him now because of their parents who died. We don't really know that much about their parents and the trauma with that because it's barely touched upon, and I don't know why, but that would have helped this arc with these two siblings have a little more heart to it, a little bit more soul, but instead it's an afterthought. And you get the idea that Henry is having some problems with his sister, and they're having an issue in terms of seeing this relationship as more than just a brother sister thing, and a connection in that way. And you see Natalie struggling with being a mom and the responsibility of that, and worrying about losing Henry or him getting hurt, or she's being, a lot of ways a hen mother, but she never really gets over that throughout the the script and throughout the film because, like I said, the script really doesn't put that much effort at all into characterization. And then you have Dawn, who's a real estate agent who sells Natalie and Henry the house that they're staying in and has a bunch of side hustles and just is along for the ride. That's really all her character is, to be honest. She's just along for the ride. And then you have another side character in Marlene, who's the vice principal of Henry's school. And she winds up getting into a romantic relationship with this villager that escaped from the overworld into our world in a very cringe and very poorly thought out and just terrible subplot in this script. And then you have the villain, Malgosha, who is not interesting either, and her arc is not good. Like, what is up with this script and just either no arcs for these characters or just incomplete arcs altogether? It's like they didn't really complete the build for these characters. They're unfinished. Because Malgosha, oh, she's this evil sorceress and she wants to take over the overworld, and she hates anything that's creative and shows imagination because she lost a talent show and was laughed at for dancing. That's her origin story. Her villain origin story is absolutely absurd and it's a joke. And then there's nothing at the end where you think, oh, that Steve will, when she is about ready to, die, or she's defeated, there's going to be this moment where she's going to change as a character, or have a realization about the error of her ways, or learn a lesson, and maybe have a bond with Steve about dancing. No, she just tries to kill Steve repeatedly with an incredibly tired gag over and over again, which is a perfect encapsulation of this script's comedy. Most of the time, it's one tired gag after another that wasn't funny the first time, but the writers keep beating you over the head with it. And I know a lot of people love Steve's Lava Chicken. I didn't think it was funny. I thought the song was more annoying than anything else. And that's another problem with this comedy. It's just so annoying and unlikable and unfunny and just not the kind of comedy that I find to be genuinely clever or witty. It's just, oh, look, they did something awkward or a lot of weird sex jokes for a kids movie, specifically like hints at gay sex for a film for kids. And there's just other stuff too about this script that I don't really care for. But a lot of it has to do with the comedy, Chicken Jockey, Steve's Lava Chicken. Uh, there are some moments where the comedy kind of works, like the fish out of water stuff when people were first reacting to the Minecraft world, or some lines or moments from the Garbage Man. But most of the time, the comedy is weak and doesn't provide much in terms of laughs. And speaking of weak, the action is so weak, is so lame, and it also feels very nerfed because of the fact that the stakes they feel kind of high, but never really that high enough. And the action when it happens, it's just set up in a way that's just so bland and boring and uninteresting, despite all the creative things you can do with it. I mean, there's some cool inventions like the tater tot gun, but then there's stupid ones like the uh, uh, bucket nunchucks, and the climax being just another tower with something on top shooting a beam into the sky is so bad and so lazy and totally uninspired. And like I said, the whole message about creativity, it just feels like it's not handled that well either. There's just so much about this, it just feels rushed. It feels like a screenplay that was totally rushed because they had other scripts that they had worked on in the past, but those weren't working. And then they just decided, okay, what was successful lately in this genre? Oh, the Jumanji sequels. They were successful in the box office and were critics, and so were other attempts like the Goosebumps movie. So let's do that, but with Minecraft. Who cares about the characters and their arcs? Just give them enough of a reason to be able to be sucked into this Minecraft world and for them to be able to do some funny stuff and mess around with the Minecraft characters and make sure Steve is in there because Steve's a Minecraft character and I mean it got to the point where even they're like, oh, yeah, well, we're not going to make this canon because we want it to be its own thing, which is really an excuse for, hey, we don't want to make this canon because if we did, then our uninspired, lazy writing would be far more upsetting. But we're gonna make it something where, oh no, it's just inspired by Minecraft, so it's a Minecraft movie, not the Minecraft movie. And we'll throw in references to the game and different little Easter eggs and throw in little references to different YouTubers and so on and so forth. And okay, that's fine. But can you have it in like a better script, a better story with better characters? It's like this script just felt like, oh well, we'll just make references to Minecraft and we'll make it take place in a Minecraft world for most of it and that'll be enough. And for me, it's not. And I have to admit, I'm not really somebody who's played the game at all, like I said at the start of this video. But honestly, the way I am, even if I did, I would still think this script was not really that good. Other than some of the references to the game or to a vintage retro gaming or some lines of dialogue or some moments involving like a creeper or the zombies or some of this other stuff, so much about this script and this story is so completely forgettable and really is not anything that feels like it's anywhere near as epic or as rewarding as what a lot of Minecraft is for a lot of people. Uh, Not just kids, but adults and other people who've grown up with the IP. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos where people do Minecraft builds in real life that are far more complex and interesting and entertaining than this entire story was, or the entire film. Let's plays too. So yeah, this script, in my opinion, it sucked. It 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 bit a pretty big block. So the cast now, the cast, they're trying. I'm not going to be too hard on the cast here because of the fact that the script was so bad and so poor that I don't really think that any cast would be able to do that much with this. But some of the cast members definitely made this film worse. And Jack Black is the worst offender to me as Steve. I know there are people who really like him in this. To each their own. I hated Jack Black in this. He was so obnoxious. He was so irritating. It was so annoying. This was like Jack Black to the extreme degree, and it was exhausting to watch and to sit through. I am so sick and tired of Jack Black playing this character. Switch it up. For God's sake, man, switch it up. I know this is making you tons of money and it's an easy paycheck, but you're getting up there in age, man. This is just getting sad to see you go back to basically doing the same shtick over and over again from back when you had your first hit with School of Rock. Jason Momoa, he's fine as the garbage man. He got the most laughs from me, to be honest. Not Jack Black, because of his deadpan and his ability to portray and relay sarcasm in a way that made me laugh, but not all the time. But I you could tell that he was in on the joke and he was having fun with it, and that's why I would say out of this entire cast, he was the one that in my opinion, did the best job, but it still wasn't amazing. Sebastian Hansen, he's about as interesting and as charismatic as just a wooden block. He really is. Um, his sister, like the actress who played his sister, Emma Myers, was a little bit better, but still not by much. Still very just wooden characters, wooden performances. Danielle Brooks is Dawn. She's trying, but she's given a nothing character. I mean, what can you do with a character who one of her first lines, I think her first line when she enters the Minecraft world is, "Ow, my butt." Like, what can you really do with that character? Not much. Jennifer Coolidge is just doing the same shtick herself as another ditzy lady, which I'm getting tired of as well. Rachel House as the voice of Malgosha. Just boring, blasé, bland, just incredibly generic and just uninvolving voiceover. Like it sounds like a million other voiceovers I've heard from a million other generic, forgettable villains. And then the rest of the cast can't really say much about because it's just like Jared Hess, who voiced General Chungus, or Matt Berry, who voiced the villager Nitwit. Um, Most of the performances are by the human actors, and they're not really that good, and they don't really have that great of chemistry either. And I think they, the writers and the people behind the film knew it because they split them up like as soon as they could once they got into the overworld. Now, the cinematography by Enrique Chadiak, it's not garbage, but it's not what I would consider to be a winning combination or a great work overall. Uh, it has this whole artificial fake look to it, like the direction by Hess does, and it's equally as generic as Hess's direction. The editing by James Thomas, at times it kind of helps some of the film, at other times it hurts it and hinders it because it makes it look a little choppy and makes it look like it's a little too geared for the ADHD generation, so to speak. And then the music by Mark Mothersbaugh, it's not really a score that I would say is one of my personal favorites by him, but it's pretty decent. And I think it does fit the vibe and the tone of the film well. And speaking of music, there were actually some songs on the soundtrack that I liked. Uh, for instance, I legitimately did like the song I think it's called "I Feel Alive." I liked that song. It's the song that played at the end credits, and also there's like a bit of a musical number at the end with Jack Black and everybody singing along. And I actually like that song. I think it's a pretty fun song, written by Mark Ronson, Andrew White, and Jack Black. And I also liked the song "Zero to Hero." I didn't like Steve's Lava Chicken. I know a lot of people love that one. Teach Their Own, I never really felt that that was that great of a song. I like the other songs from the film a lot better. I would say my favorite is I Feel Alive. And I Feel Alive just had this energy to it and this spirit that I wish that film had. Like the energy and the spirit of that song is just so much more lively and spontaneous and wild and fun than the entire film is to me. Um, it's funny, like the song legitimately makes me feel alive when I listen to it, but when I watch the movie that it's a part of, I feel dead inside because it's just another soulless corporate, generic IP film that is just providing the bottom of the barrel when it comes to storytelling and characterization. And it's another instance of a film for kids and younger audiences that is just not even trying when it comes to key aspects of what I consider to be a good film, let alone good storytelling. I mean, just because it's a kids movie, that doesn't really mean it has to have such poor characterization and such a uh, been there, done that, generic plot. So I know this film was massively successful in the box office. It's made almost $1 billion worldwide. That doesn't mean it's a classic. It doesn't mean it's a great movie just because it made a lot of money. There's a lot of films that have made a lot of money that are considered to be absolutely crap by critics and by audiences alike. I don't know if this will really wind up being one of those films as years go by, because I think there is a certain amount of joy that I think people can get out of this if they are fans of the IP. If you're a Minecraft fan, I think there's a certain joy, inherent joy that you will get from this because of the fact that it's a Minecraft movie. But once you get beyond that, though, and you really start to break it down, you break down the blocks and you look at its foundation, it's pretty rotten. And it's falling apart. And it's a shame because I think there was potential for a genuinely creative and fun romp, but instead it decided to be as uncreative as possible, other than when it comes to throwing in cameos of YouTubers and like a tribute to a YouTube Minecraft uh, uh, Let's Player who passed away of cancer. I think his name is I think it was Technoblade. And so you had like a little fun, nice little tribute to Technoblade in one scene. and this seemed like there was effort put into that stuff, but anything else, next to no effort whatsoever. And I just feel that that's too bad. I think for a game that prides itself in creativity, for the film to be the opposite in so many different ways is really disappointing. But anyway, that is my thoughts on a Minecraft movie. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.